Can you tell me your name and where you're from?
My name is Linda Liu, and I'm from East Meadow, New York. It's located on Long Island. I'm a junior at Hofstra University. And, wait, what else was I supposed to say?
It's
You have
fine.
something?
Can you describe your graduating class and and tell me when you graduated?
I graduated from East Meadow High School in 2011, and they had about 450 kids that graduated with me in the class of 2011.
Can you tell me how diverse the class was, like socioeconomically, like ethnically?
Right. It was pretty diverse. Obviously, there were like different cliques within the school, but it was pretty diverse in my opinion. Obviously, most of the students were Caucasian. There were some Asian students, some African American students, along with, I don't know how to say, maybe African or Indian students. So it was pretty diverse. Socioeconomically, I would say most students and their families were around middle class. There wasn't anyone particularly wealthy or particularly poor. I mean, obviously there were some students that were more wealthy than others or more poor. But all in all, it was mostly middle class, in my opinion.
So what is the ethnic mix of your friends? Do you find that you've stayed with people who are also Asian or different ethnic backgrounds?
Absolutely not. I'm actually friends with many different ethnicities, including Caucasian, Spanish, Indian, Muslim. My group of friends is very diverse. I'm friends with many different ethnically diverse people. Is that right?
Most people think of suburbia as this homogeneous population, like previously mostly white people. Like, did you find that anyone tried to not include you in something because you're not the typical suburban 1950s image?
Right. I actually was thinking about this recently because ever since I was a kid, I never really noticed like ethnicities and like different color skins and different cultures. I didn't really notice that until I got a little older, maybe into middle school and high school, and I never ever felt left out. Like, I mean, honestly, I guess like since media shows suburbia as like mostly Caucasian and like most movies only, well, I mean now it's more diverse, but a lot of movies is mostly Caucasian. Like even as I was a kid, like I didn't even think that, like I mean I knew I was Chinese and I knew I was Asian, but it was kind of just like I just fit in with the Caucasian group, I guess. But I didn't really feel left out per se.
So what does your neighborhood look like?
I live on a pretty straight block, I mean, but like around the community, obviously the houses aren't too big, they're not too small. There's stores, there's main roads like Hempstead Turnpike that is in our town that have like different businesses and stores located on it, and then we mostly have like houses.
So how do you find you get around town?
Oh, I definitely have to drive. I mean, but like I can ride a bike or walk because there are walking distances, but most of the time you have to drive, especially in the suburbs.
So when did you get your first car?
I got my first car. I didn't get my first car until I started college. In high school, I didn't have a car. My father drove me around, or I walked, or I got rides from my friends who did have cars.
So what did you find was the norm? Do you think most people got cars in high school or until a little later? Or were they new cars, old cars?
Honestly, I was very surprised. A lot of the students in my graduating class had cars once they started getting licenses. They had, some of them were new cars, some of them were old, but I would say a majority of them were old unless they were spoiled brats and got new cars.
So what did you do on your weekends or after school in this town?
In high school?
In high school now?
Okay, well in high school I participated in after school activities. I was treasurer of my class. I participated in athletic activities like sports teams. I tried staying active in like clubs in school, and even now in college I stay active in clubs. I stay on campus to go to meetings and I hang out with my friends, and that's pretty much it. I work a lot as well.
So you had an after-school job?
Yes, my parents own a laundromat. I work at the laundromat, and I also work in a law office. I used to work in a bakery in high school.
What do you do for fun?
I read. I like to read books. I like to shop. I like to hang out with my family and my friends, especially because a lot of my friends and family work a lot, so there's not always time to spend time with each other, but we always do whenever we can.
So, do you hang out around Roosevelt Field Mall? Like, where are some of the actual places, like, around here? Like, do you find that there's nowhere to go? Like, a lack of places where you could have fun?
I think in our age, we think that there aren't a lot of places that we can have fun, but there really are. I mean, like, we can go to the mall. My friends and I go to the mall. We go to the movies. Sometimes we just drive around. Sometimes we even take bike rides around town. We go to some local bars and clubs. Where else do we go? That's pretty much it, I think.
So, going back to, like, your family life, where and what do your parents do, and where do they work? Are they city commuters? Do they work locally in the town?
Right. My family has their own small business. They own 2 laundromats, one in Hicksville, one in East Meadow. And my parents were immigrants, so they immigrated to America from Taiwan. So they started their own small business. They bought a laundromat, which we still have, and they started their way there and up. And they continue to work there now.
Did your parents move directly to the suburbs, or did they stop in the city before moving out here?
My mother started in the city. She lived in the city for a little bit and worked as a waitress and lived in her apartment with her friends. My father started out in the suburbs.
Now, I know you have relatives that are also looking to come to America. You said they want to come to the suburbs immediately. Why do you think they want to start in the suburbs immediately as opposed to going to the city first?
I think the city, especially New York City, is it's a lot to handle, especially if you're moving from a completely different country to New York City. New York City is basically like its own different country. It's very strong. We have like strong personalities, and like it's very diverse. It's like I said, it's a lot to handle. My family wants to start out in the suburbs because you get a little bit of both. You can be able to commute to the city easily, and it's not too busy, but it's not like a countryside. So they want to kind of start here because there's jobs available, and if anything, they can look for jobs in the city, and they can also own a house rather than an apartment in the city.
Speaking of, like, owning your own house, like, the community aspect is what draws a lot of people to the suburbs. Do you find that you socialize with your neighbors? Are you friends with them?
I was a lot closer to them when I was younger, but I still say hi to my neighbors. We talk to them. My parents are very friendly with them. But yeah, we do socialize. It's not like we isolated ourselves from each other. We used to have block parties, so we used to always hang out with each other on the block.
Would you raise a family here yourself in the suburbs?
I definitely would. I would rather actually raise a family in the suburbs rather than the city or in the countryside, just because I think it's a little, like I said, it's a little bit of both. It's not too much of one and not too less of another. So I think you get positive vibes.
Do you find that the neighborhood's changing since you graduated high school?
I guess a little bit, but not too much. I mean, diversity has definitely expanded. I've seen a lot more, a lot more ethnically different, I guess, people from the original Caucasians, I guess you would say. I see a lot more Asians, Hispanics, African Americans, Indians. Is that politically incorrect? I'm sorry.